Hey, ¿qué la que hay, mi gente? It's Rocky here from SpeakSpanishFaster.com. Muchas gracias por estar aquí conmigo de nuevo. In today's video, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite ways to learn Spanish. And this video actually stems from a question I got on YouTube in the comments. It was about a video I had done maybe like 2 years ago almost, where I was showing this method, and 2 years has been a long time. Like, I'm sure I've done more with this method and kind of further improved it. So I wanted to kind of share that with you guys again and answer some of the questions that were asked. So in today's video, I'm going to be showing you one of my favorite ways to learn Spanish. I have my notes right here, so I stay on topic, because y'all know me. You know, if I don't have any notes, I'll talk your head off. So let's start. So the whole point of this video is to show you my favorite method of actually reading in Spanish, which is by far one of the best ways to rapidly elevate your Spanish, not only your comprehension, but also your speaking ability. Okay, so first, let's start with the tools that you need. All right, now the tools I always recommend for this are Kindle and Audible. But keep in mind, you don't have to have Kindle, and you don't have, well, you might need to have Audible, but you could buy hardcover books. Really, all you need is a text version of a book and the audio version of a book, because you're going to be using them both together. All right, so the cool thing with Kindle is that they have a plan, and I'm not making any money from this or from recommending this, and this isn't a sponsored video or anything. These are just tools that I really enjoy using. Kindle, they have a plan. I think it's a little subscription plan. I'm not sure how much it is, but I signed up for it because you can get free books for under Kindle Unlimited. I guess it's not really free if you're on the plan, but you can get pretty much an unlimited amount of books that are in this subscription. So you can pay maybe it's like $10 a month, but you get a lot of different books that you can use and then exchange, and it's pretty cool. The other thing is with Audible, you get free credit every month, and I think you might get like 3 credits when you begin, but don't quote me on that. So you can use these credits. They're free credits that you can use to purchase a book, no matter the price of the book or of the Audible version of that book, the audio version of the book. So the first place to start, I like using my iPad. I'm sure there are other tools. You could even use your phone. You don't have to have an iPad. Okay, and I will go to Kindle, and let's just see. I'm not sure if you can see this on the screen, but these books say Kindle Unlimited. All right, so anytime you see a Kindle Unlimited book, those are under the Kindle Unlimited plan. Now, when I'm choosing a book for this method, and I'm going to talk in a second, I'll show you how exactly to use the method, because that's where the main question that the guy had. But when I'm picking a book from this, or when I want to use this strategy, I usually start with a book that I have already read, or I've already seen a movie based on that book. Because basically what that's going to do is it makes the information already comprehensible for me, because I know how the story goes, how it flows, and I might not know every word that I'm reading, but I still know the majority of the content. So it's easy to put the kind of pieces of the puzzle together. So basically what you're doing is you're making the text almost comprehensible before you consume it. So you can consume comprehensible input, which is important, and it's what I always talk about on this channel. So you want to start with getting a text version of a book that you've already read before, or that you've seen a movie about. I like to start with, let's say Harry Potter, because Harry Potter is so popular that it's created in so many different languages. And Harry Potter's actually on the Kindle Unlimited. I've actually gone through it this second time, going through them all, this time in Italian. All right. First, I went through them in Spanish like a few years ago. Now I'm going through them in Italian, and I'm on book 4 now in Italian. The Harry Potter series is very easy, especially to start with because the book was written for younger children. Don't get me wrong, it's still going to be a little difficult because some of the words, you're not going to know every word. But it's a fun book, and it's not too difficult. So I like to start with a book, like I said, one of these type of books. And so this was the question the guy had. Do I listen to it and then read it, or read it then listen to it? No, you are listening and reading at the same time. That's where all the power, that's the secret, because you're getting to read the text, you're getting the input from reading. There's two forms of input, right? Reading and listening. So you're killing two birds with one stone, listening and reading at the same time. This is very important because you can see the words and you can hear the perfect pronunciation for those words. So you're doubling up on the input that you're consuming, and you're making sure you're hearing it, the words being pronounced in the proper way, and you're seeing what the word is. All right, so all that information is getting downloaded into your brain. All right, it's very, very powerful. So for the guy, I forgot who it was, but that asked the question, when you're reading your Kindle version, and I'll show you Audible, this is what Audible looks like, and there's a lot of books in here that you can find. I mean, even short stories in Spanish. Like, there's a lot of different Spanish books that you'll find. This one, Los Ritos del Agua. So this is an audio version. The hardest part is finding, I would say, the audio version. If you could find a Spanish book, the Spanish audio version, then you're pretty much set. Because if there's an audio version, there's definitely a text version. But what I'm doing is I'm playing the Audible version, and you can see I have 3 credits. It says you have 3 credits. So I have 3 free books now, because each month you get a new credit, but that doesn't mean you're going to fly through the credits, because it's going to take you some time. So I'll play the Audible version while I read it on Kindle. That's the strategy, but it has to be at the same time. Now, how do I go through the content? How much do I do each day? Personally, I like to do a chapter a day, especially for at least the Harry Potter series, because most of the chapters are like 30 minutes, which is like the perfect time for me. And it's a great time. 30 minutes is usually a great amount of time to work with. And I usually like to either break my sessions into 2 30-minute sessions or one 1-hour session. But 2 30-minute sessions are usually easier to stay focused. I guess it depends the day, because sometimes after 30 minutes, you're focused, so it's easier for the second 30 minutes. But either way, I like to do a chapter a day, okay? But keep in mind, you can only do a chapter a day if it's 30 minutes if you understand a good amount of content. Now, I know for a lot of you, that might be difficult to get through a whole 30 minutes in one sitting, just getting through a whole chapter. In most books, the chapters are usually like 30 minutes, sometimes less, maybe sometimes a little more. But I would say a good rule of thumb that most of these writers follow, because they don't want their chapters to be too long. It'll be too hard to get through the book. So aiming for a chapter a day should be your goal, okay? But it's going to take some time probably to get to that goal. So what do you do if you're struggling because you just can't understand the words? Well, what you need to do is break the book down. So instead of doing a chapter a day, you're still going to want to do 30 minutes a day, but you're not going to try to do the whole chapter a day. You're going to break it down, maybe say 3 pages or even 1 page. It really depends on your level, but that's the cool thing with this strategy. It doesn't matter your level. You can edit your strategy based on what your current level is. So if you're not at a high level yet, then you want to break the book down into smaller segments. All right. So how would I approach that? When I first started, even with, let's say, Harry Potter, the first book, I struggled to kind of get through chapters because there's just too many words I didn't know. So I couldn't understand it as much as I needed to. Because when you're consuming comprehensible input, you want to be able to understand like 80 to 90% of the content. So if you can't do that, then you need to slow down with it. So what I did was I broke it down like, okay, I'm going to do a chapter. I'm going to do a page today, or I'm going to do 2 pages or 3 pages, however much you feel you can get through. And how I would do that is I would first listen, read through, see how I felt. Okay, I don't understand that much of this. Then I'll pause the Audible and I'll just go through the Kindle and I'll just kind of skim it myself, find words that I don't know or that I'm struggling with. The cool thing with Kindle is that there's a translator on, so all you have to do is highlight a word. And let me see if I can show you really quick how it will work. Let me just pull up. This will actually be in Italian, but so if I pull up a word right here, I can just click that word and Kindle will tell you dictionary what the word means. So it's super quick. And then of course I could highlight that word. And with Kindle, you can export your highlights. You can email yourself the highlights. So now you can easily email yourself a list of words that you're not familiar with. And then you can study those words. Now, personally, that's what I like to do. And I try to just look at the word and remember it rather than writing down every word. Now, if I come across a word numerous times in the book that I just can't remember, then I'll write that word down. My first time through, I'll highlight words. I'll just pinpoint the words. I'll look at the quick meaning of it, and I'll try to keep going. Don't spend too much time writing down every word. Just try to get a gist of what they're talking about in the book or in the page. So once I did that and once I felt comfortable with the first page or the first 3 pages, however long I want to study, then I'll go through and listen again while I'm reading, okay? And then I will either listen. It depends how long this has taken me. If I'm still at like, let's say 15 minutes, if I feel comfortable, I'll move on to maybe another set of pages because I knew 3 pages took me 15 minutes. Maybe 3 more pages will take me another 15 minutes. So I'll do another 3 pages. Or if I'm still struggling, I'll go back and kind of do the same process. Read back through it without the Audible so I can kind of focus on the words that I don't know, I can't find. I can't find the meaning to in my head. And then I'll turn the Audible on. Now, the thing that you don't want to do is try to highlight words while reading and listening at the same time because that's going to cause too much confusion. Because as you're trying to find words, the Audible is going to keep going. It's too hard to pause, highlight, pause, highlight. So that's why I like to listen without stopping. While I'm listening, I read without stopping. When I want to take my time, I don't play the Audible version, the audio. I just read through it. All right. So that's basically the whole strategy. If you can do this 30 minutes a day, you are really going to improve your comprehension and just increase the amount of words that you know in Spanish. And that's one of the best things about this method. So I'll talk about quickly some pros and cons because everything has a pros and everything has cons. The pros of this method are that you get exposed to a wide array of new vocabulary words because obviously people use words in books that we don't use in everyday language. So this is why it's important to mix up. Don't just only read. Also watch YouTube videos of everyday Spanish, of words that are being used, but also read. So you want to hit your Spanish from different angles. And this is also going to keep learning Spanish fun because sometimes the book is going to get boring. The days where I just don't feel like reading because I don't feel like reading all the time, I'll just watch a YouTube video. So that'll help me stay kind of versatile in my approach. So that's very, very important to remember. That's one of the pros of this strategy. Another pro is that once you download the Kindle book and the Audible version, as long as you have electricity, you're good. You don't even really need the internet anymore because you can, like if you're on a plane and let's say the plane doesn't have internet, you can still use this strategy, whereas you can't use a YouTube video if you don't have internet, right? So this is a very portable strategy. If you're traveling, it's very easy to, carry this and learn on the go. That's another reason why I really, really love this strategy. All right, now, a con I would say to this strategy, and I don't think it's really that big of a con or negative effect, but it's just something to remember is that you will have to sacrifice a little of your accent acquisition here. So by accent acquisition, I'm talking about if you're trying to learn like Puerto Rican or whatever type of Spanish you're trying to learn. Remember, the narrator for these audio versions, they usually speak very well, very proper, and as neutral and standard as possible. So you're not going to really get a Puerto Rican intonation and pronunciation or Mexican intonation and pronunciation. You're going to get the most standard approach. Now, I will say there are times that you can find a book that's maybe written by like a Mexican author, and I've read a book before by a Mexican author, and she actually did her own audio version. So even though she still spoke in a very neutral way, you could still hear a little of the Mexican style intonation. And if you find books written by like Spanish authors from Spain, a lot of times the audio versions for those books will be more of a Spain type of Spanish. Now, again, the reason I say that this isn't really a con is because you are exchanging, even though you're sacrificing accent acquisition, you're trading that for an exposure to more vocabulary words. All right, and we know reading is super important, even in our native language, right? People always say you need to read. The smartest people read. The richest people read. Reading helps you articulate your words better. It helps you obviously get smarter. And when you're reading in a foreign language, it's going to help you with your pronunciation, your comprehension. So there's so many benefits to reading. It's also going to help you with your speaking. You'll be able to find words better. So everything, like reading, really helps. So you're sacrificing one thing, but you're gaining. And also, you're not really messing up your accent because you're not mixing two different types of Spanishes. All right, because like I always give the example, like if you're say you're mixing like Mexican Spanish, Puerto Rican Spanish, and Argentinian Spanish. If you're trying to learn all three of those at the same time and you're listening to all those, you're going to create some awkward mixtures of words and pronunciations. It's not going to sound good. You don't really have that problem when you're consuming standard or neutral Spanish. This is why it's good to also listen to the news, I would say. It's because you're not going to pick up any other accents. You don't really pick up an accent from standard Spanish if you're just listening to the, standard proper way to say a word. It's not really going to affect your accent because you're not technically picking up another local accent. So that's why it's not really a con. It's just that you're a lot of times you're not going to find the exact Spanish you want to learn. You're not going to find a book read in that type of Spanish. So again, that's why it's very important to continue to mix your strategy. So if I spend an hour a day, I might spend 30 minutes reading and 30 minutes consuming a video of like a podcast from a native speaker of the country that I want to learn Spanish from. That's kind of how you can mix it up. Not only is that going to help you continue to improve your accent, but it's also going to expose you to two different types of vocabulary because we know everyday speaking is a much different vocabulary than reading or the words that are in books. All right, so that's one of my go-to strategies that I have been using for a while to learn languages, and it's very powerful and it's fun. If you're someone like me that likes reading, obviously not everybody likes reading, so this may not be for you if you're not really a reader. But even if you aren't a reader, I wouldn't look at this as reading. I would look at this more as language acquisition. So even if you hate reading, but you love learning languages, you'll love this method because it's really, if you want to get good results, you'll definitely want to implement this. All right, so that's pretty much it for this video. Sorry it went a little long, but I really wanted to explain the strategy, the whys, the whos, the whats, the where, everything about it. If you are looking to continue to improve your Spanish, I'll also give you 3 tips, 3 secrets that'll help you rapidly improve your Spanish so that you could speak and comprehend Spanish easier and faster. All you have to do is click the link that is in the comments. I'll pin it there, or go to speakspanishfaster.com/YouTube. If you use those tips with this strategy and I mean, your Spanish is going to explode very quickly. Like, you are really going to improve rapidly. And I'm also testing other things that I'll share with you guys here for right now that I've been testing is listening to foreign languages while under hypnotherapy. I'm always testing different things, so I'm always just want to be upfront with you guys. That's why I created this channel, so that you know exactly what I'm doing to learn language. Like, it wouldn't make sense if I got on here and just taught you, basic grammar, vocabulary, but if I'm not learning languages from studying that stuff. You see what I'm saying? I'm not going to teach you. Sometimes I teach that stuff because you guys have questions about it, but I'd rather share with you how I really approach learning Spanish and learning languages rather than just coming on here and being a regular teacher all the time. So if you've enjoyed this video, if you found it helpful, hit the thumbs up for me. Let me know you liked it. Comment below. Let me know what else you need help with. Last but not least, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you never miss another video. Until next time, I'll see you then.